XS Wireless Digital is the perfect wireless audio solution for content creators and filmmakers. Thanks to a 2.4 GHz transmission, XS Wireless Digital is a truly plug-and-play system that allows you to upgrade your in-camera audio with one-button operation. With a variety of configurations to choose from, this entry point into the world of wireless will improve your workflow and will expand the possibilities of how you capture audio for your video. For more information, visit sennheiser.com/xswd.
The new Super 35 sensor that Canon have introduced with the C300 Mark III is quite a big step up from other S35 sensors that they have created before. From the body and the flexibility that gives us in terms of the expansion packs and the interchangeable mount, to the sensor with its increased dynamic range for tackling scenes that possibly we couldn't have tackled or captured faithfully before, I can get more out of this camera. My money goes further. It's as simple as that from a business standpoint. From a creative point of view, it's unquestionably unlocking more creative avenues for us as filmmakers.
Hello everyone, welcome back to ProAV Live, back to our regular little casual weekly Q&A stream. I've been really enjoying doing these. Thank you all so much for joining me. In case you are new to these and this is the first one that you've been to see, literally just leave any questions that you want about anything that we do, you know, any equipment out there, any advice you'd like, anything like that. Leave it in the YouTube comments or in the comments on Facebook, and I can see them all here, and we'll just chat about them. We'll answer them live as we go through. Greetings from Canada, Marshall says hello. I still cannot get around people joining this from all over the world in all sorts of different time zones. Thank you so much. I think it's great to see a show live. Amazing. These live streams have been a fantastic way of talking backwards and forwards with all of you guys. I really have been enjoying doing them for the last, well, nearly a year now. We've been doing live content, which is just crazy that it has gone that fast. This week in particular is going to be quite a big week because Sony have got a sneak little announcement for us tomorrow, which I am very excited to learn more about it. So wait, this isn't the Sony event, that's the day before. Yes, exactly, Bergenbeard. There is a Sony event tomorrow at 3 o'clock. We have a live stream at 4:30 with Philip Bloom, where we're going to be talking about our reactions to the cameras, because we don't know anything yet, and if we did, obviously we would be under NDAs and we couldn't say anything anyway. But yeah, there's a big announcement from Sony tomorrow at 3 o'clock UK time, 3 p.m. Our stream is an hour and a half after that, 4:30 p.m. GMT, where we're going to be sitting down with Philip Bloom and chatting through whatever they have for us. Bit of a thoughts, bit of a reaction stream. But yes, that is tomorrow, not today. If you don't know where to find that, head over to our website, and there is a link to it here, down at the side. And obviously it's on our YouTube channel, just like you're watching this right now. But yep, that's tomorrow at 4:30. This is their tease, which we've shared on Twitter. This is literally all of the information that has been put out there about whatever is coming tomorrow. It's January the 26th at 10 a.m. Eastern, 3 o'clock GMT, or 2400 Japanese Standard Time. And literally, this is it. You know, that image, the one never seen. So it'll be interesting to see whether that's a tease of some sort or whether it's just marketing text. Who knows? It's in the Alpha family and it's from Sony. And that is literally all we know. So I am so very, very excited about that, because it's been a long time since I've seen a launch from Sony that has been quite this secretive. Okay, Bergenbitt, you're in Australia, so it'll be 2:30 a.m. Yeah, that's going to be early. Is that Sony's one at 2:30 a.m. or our one at 2:30 a.m.? Okay, Here to Record. First question has come in from Here to Record. What are we using to live mix this show? We are using the NewTek TriCaster. We're using actually a very high-end TriCaster. We used to use their 4K Mini, but recently they've announced the TriCaster 2 Elite, which is their latest, biggest, greatest TriCaster. It's their flagship one. Well, it's not quite their flagship one, but it's very high-end in their lineup. And we have one here in the demo room to show to customers. And so since we have one here, I was like, well, let's set it up properly. Let's get it working and let's use it ourselves. Why use the entry-level one when you have the high-end one sitting there on a shelf right next to it? So to be honest, it is completely overkill for what we're doing, because really I've got one camera, I've got a feed from my laptop, you know, and a Skype caller coming in. I don't need a TC2 Elite for that. The 4K Mini was doing everything that I needed. I do like the TriCaster system a lot. We used to use live Wirecast before that. There's also things like vMix and Blackmagic, obviously, we could use. There's a whole bunch of good kit that we could be using. But the reasons we have gone for the TriCaster, the 4K Mini, not the Elite, as I said, the Elite is definitely classed as overkill for what we've got. If you've got it, use it. Exactly, Here to Record. Benefits of using the TriCaster system as a whole is that it's an NDI system, so everything's connected via Ethernet cables, which is what I've got there we go. That's what this laptop's connected with. It means that I can have a interface here next to me where I can actually control. So I've got Dan over there operating on the other side of the room. He's about 5 meters or so away. And then I've actually got what he's looking at here on a little computer monitor next to me. And so I can actually override things, or if things are going wrong, or I want to cut to something in particular, I can override what Dan is doing over there, which is quite cool. The other thing is that it's built around DDR bays, and so it's really good for playing back content. So all the video clips and the product overviews that you're seeing at the beginning and the end of these streams, also they're there if we want to break in the middle of a stream as well. Those are all driven through the TriCaster interface, and it's brilliant at that. And then on top of that, we also can have other DDR bays full of things like if we're interviewing someone, like the last stream we did interviewing John Edwards from Naive Studios, I had a DDR bay full of all of his work, really easy just to load up and skim through anything that he had in there. It's a really good system. We've had a lot of success with TriCaster. I think they are really quite great. Okay, so some other things I wanted to just touch base on as little company updates since then. A couple of things have started to come in stock in a little bit more, which were quite hard up before in terms of stock. These pictorial zooms from DZOs, these have been really hard to get a hold of since the release. We've shipped quite a lot of them, but they are really quite hard to get hold of. And they've just come into stock. We haven't actually updated the website yet by the looks of it. It's still saying 2 to 4 weeks, but I've been told by the sales team that they they're a bit more available now than they normally are. And also Sony have launched a interest-free credit deal on the FX9 with Azul. So if you are looking at Sony cameras and you want to go for their higher end FX9 rather than whatever tomorrow might bring, an interest-free credit over 24 months as well is a fantastic way to buy one. I mean, that will be quite reasonable monthly payments there, plus we have them in stock, so it's a good time to be buying an FX9 right now. And that's about it. I mean, other than whatever Sony might drop on us tomorrow, it's been there's a Kinney winter sale. I don't think I've talked about this yet, so let's just briefly touch on this. Kinefinity have got a winter special deal, which is for, I think it's a month this is going on for. It just saves you a little bit. There's some quite decent savings, like 230 quid off of a Mavo LF. And bear in mind, all of these prices here, they're all ex-VAT. So you will actually save more than that 230 because it will be VAT on top of that. So it'll be 20% on top of that as well. Kinefinity EVF. So if you've never bought one of these, if you have a Kinefinity camera and you don't have the EVF, it's a good time to be buying it because you're saving 76 quid there. So it'll end up nearly £100 you're saving on one of those. Should be quite good. Okay, let's crack on with some of these things, see what people are saying. Right. Video editor bloke, out of interest, how much notice do you guys get ahead of a new product launch? Whether that's just a vague idea that something's being released or actually checking out the item beforehand. It really differs. And it differs massively between different manufacturers, and it also differs between different manufacturers' ranges. So, for example, with Sony, we've had Sony launches where we've had access several months beforehand, and we've had the camera for a week, and we've made lots of content ready to go live on embargo. Sometimes we haven't had anything until 2 weeks after they've announced it. You know, it really, really differs depending on so many different things out there. We are lucky enough, and we are very, very grateful to all the manufacturers that we get as to be able to create some things for launch. The reason that we push so hard with manufacturers to be able to do that is for everyone of you sitting at home, because the more information you have about a new product and a new release when it comes out, the more informed you are when you're placing pre-orders. It saves work for you in the long run, work for us in the long run, because it means that people are buying something which they're informed about. The last situation we want is a product to be released, loads of people sign up for pre-orders, then they realize it's not actually what they thought it was, or they might go for a different thing or whatever, and then they change those, which of course you can do because it's just a £100 refundable deposit to pre-order something. And so the more information we can get you as customers on the embargo date, the better it is for Sony, the better it is for us, and the better it is for you. So it's a win-win-win. It is very challenging to do, both for the manufacturers and for us, but we do think it is very important. It's a big priority for us on this channel. That being said, I don't have anything for tomorrow other than this live stream. There's no video coming from us on embargo. I genuinely do not know what this one has in store. So I am very excited. But yeah, it massively differs. You can normally tell who's had it beforehand as to whether or not they release a video the minute that embargo lifts. You know, if we're releasing, or anyone else is releasing, a video on embargo date, they've had it beforehand, obviously. Okay. Marshall, what is the longest HDMI cable that can be used with a BM Pocket 4K into an ATEM Mini Pro? Fine. So HDMI cables as a whole, you can get them in really quite long lengths. The longest HDMI cables that I would be happy recommending for proper video production is 10 meters. I've seen 15 meters happen with no problems, but then I've also seen some problems at 15 meters. 10 meters is normally very safe. If you are going to 4K rather than 1080p, which I don't think you wouldn't be with an ATEM Mini Pro, but for anyone else out there that would be going 4K with it over HDMI 2, I would cut that down again. Maybe 7.5 meters would be the max I would go. The more bandwidth you could put through a cable, the more difficult it is to make it longer. If you need to run any video signals longer than that, there's SDI. It's one of the big advantages of SDI. SDI can go up to really about 100 meters before weakening, if you're in 1080p anyway, and you can have SDI repeaters that will boost the signal by plugging into mains and get it way further than that. And of course, if you need to go really long distances, you've got things like fiber. And then there's the whole video over IP, which is actually what we're using right now to do this stream, because we're using NDI, which is run over good old Ethernet cables and things, and they can go really long distances very, very cheaply as well. It's much cheaper to run Ethernet cable than it is to run SDI cables, and I don't know the actual maximum length on Ethernet cables. I think it differs massively depending on what category of cable it is, but that's certainly a very good affordable option if you've got the right equipment for it. Okay, Benham, I was wondering who is to beg for Blackmagic RAW with the Panasonic cameras, right? Is it Blackmagic or Panasonic or both? It's Blackmagic, really. So Panasonic have enabled RAW output on some of their cameras in different ways. So the EVA 1 could do it over an SDI port, the S1H and the S5 can do it over a HDMI port. There's nothing in that signal from Panasonic's end that will differentiate as to whether or not it can be recorded as Blackmagic RAW or ProRes RAW or Cinema DNG or Cinema RAW Lite or whatever RAW format is out there. You know, if Sony bring out an XOCN recording unit, you should be able, and they've supported it from a Blackmagic camera over HDMI, which I imagine they wouldn't, but if they did, that would work. So it's down to the people making the recorder to build in support for each particular RAW format. So in this case, with Blackmagic RAW on the Panasonic cameras, it would be Blackmagic putting it into their video assist recorders and supporting that particular implementation of RAW in Blackmagic RAW if they're compatible. Because that's the other thing, is we don't actually know a huge amount about the protocols that each manufacturer is using for their raw data. And so if they might not play particularly friendly, who knows? I imagine they would, because Atomos have got it working with ProRes RAW, so I don't see why Blackmagic wouldn't be able to do it. So yeah, I would be knocking on the door of Blackmagic rather than Panasonic for that one. Okay, another little drink to save my throat. Okay, Kevin, I'm collecting my C70 from you tomorrow. Fantastic. It's a great camera, the Canon C70. Really, really recommend it. I think you'll be very, very happy with it. If I want to use C-Log 2 and use the Ninja 5 to record and monitor, do I have to upload anything to my Ninja 5? not sure what you mean by upload anything, Kevin. Give us a bit more info there. But normally they would plug and play with each other pretty easily. So C-Log2, the Canon C70 can do C-Log2. Just have it in that, and it will be sending a HDMI feed out to the Ninja 5. So you can use that as just a monitor with whatever is coming out of the camera. If you want to record from it, you'll need to make sure that the camera is set to be a clean output. And if there is any control in the C70 over what signal is coming out of the HDMI port, which I can't remember off the top of my head, just make sure that it's in the settings that you want. And then the Ninja 5 will literally just record whatever it is that the C70 is chucking at it. And it will record that as a 10-bit for ProRes file. And it should be 10-bit coming out of the C70 as well. So yeah, you won't get RAW or anything like that, but it will be good quality ProRes files. And a really useful monitor tool as well. The Ninja 5 is actually a really good little monitor. There's a lot of really useful waveform, false color, peaking, all of that sort of stuff is built into the Ninja 5, ready to go. Robsky just says, hi guys. Hello, Robsky. Okay, I think actually that's it for the questions so far. Have I missed any? Let me just skim back through. Let me know what all of you want to see for the launch tomorrow with Sony as well. And I'm assuming there's people out there just as excited about it as I am, because I am very much looking forward to it. I've been chatting quite a lot about it with Philip before we do the stream tomorrow, who he also doesn't know about it. And we're placing bets backwards and forwards as to what each one of us thinks is coming. So I'd be interested to see what you all think Sony might be announcing tomorrow. That would be great. I don't think I've missed any questions in there. My interface here on my laptop is repeating some things of what you guys are saying there. Rubsky. Hey guys, potentially opening a live streaming studio space. I missed this one. What would you say is the essentials and the main things that future clients will be looking for in studios and production? So you're going to open up a studio space to offer live streaming so people will come into your physical building so that they can do live streams. The essentials and the main things that future clients are looking for in studios and production. Flexibility. And that I mean, if you're in the UK, get in touch and we can really help with this. We've got a fantastic team here, including broadcast engineers, who can talk you through all the different options out there. I would really strongly recommend some sort of video over IP, though, rather than the more traditional SDI, simply because of the amount of flexibility that it gives you. It will probably end up costing that a little bit more to do something like we've got here with the TriCaster, but it is so flexible. It means that you can wire it up in pretty much any way. Video over IP means you can have a big router, like in a server room, with loads of Ethernet cables going in and out of it, and everything could just be plugged into that, and then everything on the network can see each other and talk to each other. So if I need to get the signal from this camera that's here in front of me into the TriCaster, into this laptop, into reception, into wherever I need it in the building, it's really easy. Really easy. Whereas in a normal SDI workflow, it can be quite a pain to do things like that and change up the configuration. So for productions which are going to be doing one thing, it's a TV studio that is making one show, and it's going to be set up in the exact same way every single week, SDI is brilliant. SDI works fine. It's really, really reliable. If it's a space that needs to be much more flexible, that's when you really start unlocking the advantages of a video over IP network, and NDI is probably the most common one for doing that by far. And we can help talk you through all of that if you get in touch, and if you're in the UK, we can really help. Okay, Bergenbeard again. Not a question, but if Blackmagic sold the ability for other manufacturers to record internal Blackmagic RAW like the Pocket cameras to get around the red patent, I would be a very, very happy person. I completely agree. It's something that they said that they were going to do when they launched Blackmagic RAW. They said it was going to be open source. They said they'd be welcoming for it to be in other cameras other than Blackmagic ones. And so I would love to see it. For that to be the case, though, I do think they need to start opening up in other areas, because on their codec, they're saying they're very, very open. But then on things like their editing software, for example, with Blackmagic, then DaVinci Resolve, they're still not supporting ProRes RAW. So on one side, they're being quite closed and protective and saying, no, our formats are our formats. We don't want to support a competitor's format. But then on the other side, they're saying, yeah, you're all happy to use ours and competitors can use our codec. And so it's a bit mixed messages there from Blackmagic. I think in order to make one work, they need to open up the other. Plus, I think they need to open it up anyway, to be quite honest. I would love to see Blackmagic RAW in other cameras, because I do think Blackmagic RAW is a fantastic format. I think it has is a really good RAW format. It's one of the best ones on the market. They've done a really good job with it. Okay. Sorry, I'm finding my chat quite hard to read simply because it's duplicating and becoming a bit messy. Okay, Mike F has just said, for field audio recording, I'm aware of Sound Devices and Zoom. Who else is out there? Well, it really depends on what sort of recorder you're looking for. If you're looking for a larger recorder, if you're looking for like a multi-track one with dials, the Sound Devices ones are absolutely brilliant. There's Zoom, there's also Tascam. Tascam are a great brand for that. Well, let me boot up the website, I suppose, and have a little look at what's there. Audio equipment, audio location recorders. So there's all sorts of ones. I probably need to go and update and make sure the latest products are up here at the top. But the Zoom H5 and H6 are good old classics now. They've been really good. These are sort of the Tascam ones. The Sound Devices, the 633 is a fantastic high-end one that I really recommend. They've also then got the Mix Pre 3 and the Mix Pre 6 underneath it, if that's the sort of thing you're after. And then if that's too big, if you're thinking of small little ones, then there's a bunch of options. One that is being talked about a lot is the Tentacle Track E. So this little thing, if nobody's seen this, oh, this is the bundle I've made actually. So it looks like this. This one down here is the Track E with one of these coming out of it. And this is a bundle of it and a sync. So in the box, we've got a Track E. I haven't actually seen the, oh, two. So we've done one with two sync keys. So this little device here, the Track E, let me load up the actual Track E rather than the bundle. I'll find it without tentacle. Right, this one. So with this is like think of a wireless lav mic transmitter that you might wear in your pocket or on your belt, like a little belt pack transmitter. Think of that, but rather than wirelessly sending a signal back to an on-camera receiver, it's just recording it in this thing, and it's got an accurate timecode generator in it because this is a Tentacle that make the timecode sync. So if you then have a Tentacle Sync E on your camera, and the two are synced together so that they're timecode jammed, that's feeding proper timecode into your camera. And so then when you bring the separate audio and video file into your post-production, they have the same timecode. So it's so easy to sync those up. So if you're looking for a separate little mini recorder, ones of lav mics, that is it looks like a fantastic option. So let me know if that's not the kind of things you're thinking of, and we can go from there. Okay, Bergenbeard says an A9 III tomorrow would excite me the most. If the rumours are true, I'll instantly buy it. What would you like to see from an A9 III? I mean, that's just a name. I mean, A9's all about the high frame rate, stills recording, so for sports, and the autofocus. Wondering if it's a replacement for the RX0, says Video Editor Bloke. The one never seen makes me think it's something small. Okay, so you're thinking never seen could be small, hiding from view. Interesting. Yes, that could be quite cool. Bergenbeard says, I think the never seen would make sense if it's the RX camera with a curved sensor, since that would be entirely new. That would be entirely new. That would be very interesting. Curved sensors, yeah. So some sort of entirely new sensor design that we've never seen before. I mean, that is quite high expectations. If that is, that it will be a monumental upgrade and announcement. Maybe it's just me being cynical, but I don't think it's going to be something quite that revolutionary. I would love it if it's the case. What a fantastic thing to be able to talk about. That would be very exciting. Video Editor says a Sony 360 camera, the camera that disappears from view. Interesting. So the one never seen. So it's never seen because it's seeing everything else other than it. Could be. Could be. I just don't think there'd be this much sort of secrecy and buzz from Sony if it's a 360. 360s are normally quite niche. Maybe it is. Who knows? Okay. Right. Robski, thanks for your feedback. So this is on the streaming solution. IP has come a long way since NDI first broke through. Modular seems to be the way to go. You guys knock it out of the park. Thanks again. I'll definitely be back in touch. Absolutely. IP has come a long way since NDI came out, but NDI has pretty much kept up. NDI is certainly anything but out of date. Modular seems to be the way to go. Mixing different solutions. Of course you can do that. Absolutely you can do that. And inevitably you always end up doing a bit of that because, you know, we're using an SDI camera here rather than an NDI specific one. And then we could even be bringing that in straight into the TriCaster in SDI if we wanted to. We're not. We're going through a little Spark converter to convert it into NDI. But you can absolutely mix and match between all the different things. Okay. Robski says, what is one of the worst / instantly outdated items ProAV have ever seen / sold? Oh, that's going to get me in trouble with that question, Robski. One of the instantly outdated. I mean, we've seen some camera releases which, I mean, every manufacturer pretty much has been guilty of releasing cameras that either haven't really done very much or sold very well or gone in anywhere, or they've released cameras which have been updates but not really updates. And I think that's the one that I would highlight or pick on, because we do see this a lot from manufacturers. So Sony, for example, released the FS5 Mark II, which got a lot of stick from people simply because it was the FS5 Mark I with a different color ND wheel on it, and it had all the optional software licenses which you could pay to add to the FS5 Mark I built in. And then they said it was the Venice color science. Well, it wasn't really. It was just a Bella Rec 709 lookup table inside it. The log and everything like that was exactly the same. It was the same sensor as the FS5 Mark I. So I think that I would class. And then Canon have done the same thing. They've just done it recently with the little M50. So they released the M50. Brilliant camera. We've sold a lot of M50s. And then in Japan, they've released the M50 Mark II. And gone, hang on, an M50 Mark II? That would be amazing. You look into it and it's just a really slight, I can't even remember now what the differences are in them. It's so small it could have easily been a firmware update. I assume that they've updated the processors in it or something to be able to do. Presumably the original M50 wasn't capable of it through just a firmware update. I would like to think that's the case, but really it's not exactly going to set the world alight as a camera update, to be kind on them. So yeah, I think I would, given the opportunity, pick on those types of camera releases. I'm just going to reload my chat window because I am just getting multiple ones through, which is a bit of a pain. And I think that's mean that I've lost everyone's messages, so I might have to rely on Dan there. Okay. Right, Mike, on audio recorders. To clarify, looking for another field mixer option with multi-track capability besides zoom and sound devices. Right, so you're looking for a larger multi-track field recorder. The main ones I would recommend are Zoom sound devices and Tascam. They're the ones we sell the most of. There are then some different ones and some higher end ones. I probably don't know enough about those ones to really advise you. I would look for resources and networks from actual sound recordists and get some advice there. I don't know a huge amount about that higher end audio recorders. The one that I would recommend stepping up for in terms of budget is the sound devices ones. That one that I found there. Where was it? Have I got it open still? I haven't. Let's find the category again. So location recorders. It was the Sound Devices 633. This one is a fantastic recorder. There's also then the MixPre ones as well. So MixPre. Let's see if I can find it. Can't actually find it. That's interesting. But yeah, as a higher end option, this Sound Devices one is used a lot out there. This is a very good one. Brilliant preamps. So that would probably be my recommendation. Tascam is the one that you've left off your list there, Mike. Okay, so A79 rumors apparently. Apparently the rumors are 50 megapixels, 8K with no overheating, 20 frames per second stills. I'm on an A7R2 and would love the stills upgrade without sacrificing video like the R line usually does. Yes, so I personally think this is what we're going to see tomorrow. I really don't know though. I would love this to be the case. Some sort of, I guess it's Sony's version of the Canon R5, right? The Canon R5 gives you 45 megapixel stills, gives you them. I can't actually remember what the frame rate is on the R5, but it's high. It's 20 megapixels or something. Certainly far higher than we've ever seen before on that sort of megapixels and 8K video. Now you're always going to sacrifice some elements of a video performance. So the R5 we saw dynamic range and overheating be the sacrifices. On this, I'm sure there will be some sacrifices because being able to do that sort of video performance in a small body and obviously cram that amount of pixels onto a sensor, you're going to sacrifice things like dynamic range and low light performance by cramming that amount of pixels onto a sensor. So they've got an uphill battle to start with by going for high resolutions. So you say you'd like to not see a sacrifice on the video. There will always inherently be some compared to something camera like the A7S Mark III, for example, where they're starting from an easier starting point because they've got a lower resolution sensor. So it's easier to create a sensor with higher dynamic range and better low light. So there will always be a compromise by going for that. But as we've seen with Canon with the R5, they can make a camera that has exceptional video quality and that high stills performance. And so I would love to see something like that from Sony. It's interesting that those are the rumors you've seen because I would love to see that tomorrow. Who knows? We will have to wait and see. Okay, Digital Creations is saying a Netflix approved camera. Any recommendations? Is this to shoot a particular project? Because it really depends. The most common cameras we're seeing now for Netflix dramas, actually Arri is being used quite a bit now. Red has always been super popular for Netflix. Right from the beginning of Netflix, Red have been right up there at the top, and they still massively are. Canon, we've seen in some success. We've seen lots of success in documentaries with the Canon lineup. Lots of documentaries being shot on the C300 Mark II, for example. And the newer ones, trouble with documentaries, they all take a long time to make. So it'll be a while before we start seeing them released with the C500 Mark II or the C300 Mark III or the C70. But all of those are Netflix approved and would be brilliant cameras for shooting Netflix work. There's a new Red Komodo, which would be fantastic, and that's Netflix approved. And some Panasonic ones as well. The S1H is Netflix approved after all, and the EVA 1. So yeah, there's lots of good cameras out there for Netflix. I think my recommendations, I'd love to see the Canons be used more for narrative work in in Netflix. But if you want to fit in with the crowd, Red is a good place to go. Okay, we've got a couple of recommendations there for the Sound Devices 633 from Mike. Music Freak says is the best you'll get. I agree with that. It's a brilliant mixer. And Eugene says you need to check out Curtis Judd on YouTube for Sound Device. That is a very good tip. Let me pull up his YouTube channel for you to see. Curtis Judd is someone I've been watching on YouTube for a long time, and makes some of the best content out there on YouTube for let me just stop that, for particularly for audio products. He really takes the time to he knows a lot about audio production, and he really does take the time to pack them full of useful information rather than just going for exciting or interesting information. This is an information channel. Go to this one if you want to really find out about these products. There's that Tentacle product I was talking about earlier, the little recorder, Zoom podcasting ones. There's lots of really good ones on there. So just have a little flick back through his channel to see. There's the Zoom H8, for example. Lots of great content on there. Okay, James is asking, will Netflix cinematographer use the C500 Mark II? The C500 Mark II is completely approved for Netflix work. There's absolutely no reason a Netflix cinematographer couldn't use the C500 Mark II if they wanted to. I don't know of any high-end dramas that have been shot on the C500 Mark II for Netflix, but I'm not super into that sort of crowd and network of the Netflix cinematographers, so I mean, they might be. We've certainly had customers buy those cameras so that they can use them on Netflix if they need to. Okay. Music Freak saying, do I think that the A7S III will ever get Netflix thumbs up ever? I'm not sure the A7S III will. I think the FX6 will. The reason I say the FX6 will while the A7S III won't is because of the amount of noise reduction being done in camera. The A7S III is a brilliant camera. It has a fantastic image, but it does have quite heavy noise reduction in camera, and at good ISOs and most situations that doesn't harm the image at all. In fact, it's one of the best images out of a Sony camera ever, really. But the critical thing with it that Netflix won't like is that you can't turn it off. You don't get any manual control over it. So if it is ever causing a problem, if you've got a scene which you're lighting in a particular way and it's causing some smearing or artifacts, you can't turn it off. It's always going to be there baked in. Now, they will take footage from an A7S III. They just won't let you use it as your A camera on a Netflix commissioned. If you shoot a documentary and it's fantastic and you shoot it on A7S III and you try and sell it to Netflix, they're going to take it. They'll take a good documentary if it's shot on your iPhone. But it has to be good enough. The content has to be good. They're buying stories. They're not buying technical shots. They're buying story. If they're commissioning things, that's when this Netflix approved list comes in, because then they're in control. They're saying, we need it to meet our specifications. This is what you have to shoot on. And I think for that, I don't think they're going to like the internal noise reduction on the A7S Mark III. And so they'll go for the FX6 instead. But I don't know that for certain. Okay, Robski for the Netflix discussion is saying go for the S1H. Most well-produced content is eligible for streaming platforms if it's commercially viable and entertaining. Yes, that's exactly what I was just saying. They will buy a good story if it's a good story. Obviously, it being shot on a Netflix-approved camera does help. And so, yes, if you're going for a budget option, the S1H is a great choice. Or the little BGH1, actually, their little box camera has been Netflix-approved as well, which is good. Broken Beard saying FX6 is approved as well if you need a budget documentary cam. Electronic variable ND is amazing. Yes, absolutely. Guy Thompson's also saying the FX6 is Netflix approved. Definitely. Right. Lawrence has chimed in with another guess for tomorrow's Alpha launch. He wants to see an Alpha camera with a global shutter. Would love that and not seen that before either. Yes. There has been Sony cameras with global shutters, but you're talking the F65. You know, you're talking high-end motion picture cameras. You're not talking anything that the rest of us can buy. Thank you. What an answer. Oh dear, what answer was that? What answer is that to say you off, Music Freak? Lawrence, right. I would love to see a Sony camera with global shutter. The first real camera that we can actually, you know, buy day to day as a smaller production, as you know, that ProAV can just casually sell to customers with a global shutter. Really, the first true camera that can do that is the Red Komodo. And so I am really hopeful that starts a trend throughout the industry of people moving towards global shutter. The question mark, which is what Red do seem to have done really well with the Komodo, is being able to do that without it sacrificing your image quality too much. Because global shutters normally, historically, have always looked great in terms of motion, but they haven't had the dynamic range, they haven't had the color reproduction of a normal CCD, or a rolling shutter. So, for manufacturers like Sony and Canon and Panasonic, that becomes the challenge. Can they do what Red seem to have done and put a global shutter into one of their cameras without sacrificing any of the other areas of their cameras? And that's, of course, remember, more challenging in many ways for Sony or Canon or Panasonic, because most of those cameras have lots of other things going on in them. Because Red cameras are cinema cameras, and cinema cameras tend to have much less features in many ways than other cameras. And they do that because they're designed for cinema. They're not really designed for anything else. They're not designed for documentary work, or you can use them in all those environments. Sure, you can shoot a wedding on a Red camera if you want to. Of course you can. Lots of people do. But they're not designed for that. They're designed for cinema. And so because of that, they can really focus down and they don't have to worry about too many other features going on. Whereas all of Canon's cameras and Sony's cameras and Panasonic's cameras and all the rest of them do have to keep in mind other elements and other areas of their cameras. And so implementing something like global shutter then becomes more challenging. The company that I'd love to see do it is Blackmagic, because they are in a very similar situation to Red, where they don't actually have to protect any other areas of their... If they brought out a camera that was just the same as the Red Komodo in terms of specs, nobody would go, hang on, this is lacking some features. Whereas if Canon or Sony did it, they'd go, hang on, where's all these other cool features that we've seen on these other cameras that makes it good for documentary work? So that could be quite good. Okay, right, another drink to save my throat. Okay, Music Freaks come back with my answer. With which one who raised his eyebrows, my answer was to the A7S3 Netflix question. Sorry, any A7S3 out lovers out there. Realistically, though, it is a fantastic, fantastic camera. And I do think it has one of the best image qualities out of all Sony's cameras. But you can't get around that noise reduction in camera. It will always be there. And in 99% of shots, it won't be a problem. But every now and again, it will cause an issue. Okay, Lothar is asking about the Rode Pod mic, which I'm using right now. Are we using any cloud lifter or FET head? Nope. We have got this plugged over XLR straight into the C300 Mark II that's in front of me. That's then being run out of the HDMI port of the camera into the Spark Plus, over NDI into the TriCaster, and that's how you're hearing me. This is not the way that I recommend customers do it in any way, shape or form. At some point in here, we will move to doing it properly with a proper audio desk and everything's there. We are not doing that right now, and we're not doing that right now for one simple reason. We have got a very simple setup here going on. We don't need anything particularly fancy. I would like to upgrade the mic, and I would like to get a proper pop shield for it, because every now and again it does pop, and this pod mic is it's a £100 mic. It's a very basic microphone. I would like to get a bit of a better sounding microphone at some point. There's just been so many other things on my radar. We've just kept this because it's been working. Lothar says, thanks, not too bad. Good. I mean, it sounds good. It's a good quality microphone, and the C300 Mark II's got good quality preamps inside it, and the TriCaster isn't really having to do any lifting. It's not going to keep an audio engineer happy in any way, shape, or form. They would have lots of things bad to say about this. I'll just check as well the settings on the TriCaster, but I don't think we've got any processing going on in the TriCaster. Nope, nothing. So nope, there's literally no wizardry to what you're hearing here at all, other than anything that the encoding side of the TriCaster might be doing in terms of leveling. Okay. Okay, Dakari Music said, quite an interesting question. How long did it take for Sony to release their latest update for the FX9 from its conception? I'm trying to gauge when Sony will release the autofocus tracking in the FX6. Really hard to know. Sony announced the FX6 along with a firmware roadmap. So it is very difficult to know how long Sony engineers were working on that and how much it changed over the course of the 6 months or so that we were waiting for that update. No, it was more than that. It came in September, I think. 2020, and the FX9 started shipping in January 2020. So a long time. As for when you're going to see any major firmware updates to the FX6, it depends on how many other things the Sony engineers have been working on and how important it is for them. There has been lots of noise about the autofocus tracking in the FX6, so I am very hopeful that it's been something they've been actively working on. That being said, we've got a new camera being announced tomorrow. Have the engineers been really busy working on things? I thought Sony was going to be done for a little bit. Let's announce the A7S Mark III and the FX6. Let's get those out there and then start working on the next thing. But then they've come out of nowhere with a new announcement tomorrow. Has that been taking up all of the Sony engineers' time? Who knows? Who knows? So when you're going to see an update for it, as an estimate, I think realistically it would be very impressive if they got a big firmware update out in the next few months. That would be very impressive. I think 3 to 4 months could be quite plausible, but who knows? We're literally fingers in the wind guesswork there. Who knows? Because of course Sony don't let us know when they start working on things. So you say the latest update for the FX9 from its conception. I don't know when its conception was. I don't know when it started, unfortunately. Okay, Music Freak is asking about the noise reduction in the A7S Mark III, and can it be swapped out with a firmware update? I assume they could. I don't see why they couldn't. I don't think they will, because I guess it will be protecting their FX6. That's sort of what they've built the FX6 around, is doing some of these more higher end professional video features of the A7S Mark III. That might be something that they wouldn't do on purpose, maybe. That's a bit... I mean, every manufacturer has to do that a little bit to segment market, and not just release the exact same camera in a different form factor. So it could be something like that. But also it might be down to the ins and outs of the specific code, because they are built on different platforms. So the A7S Mark III uses the same processor and the same engine and the same sensor, but it is built on a different line of code because the entire menu and everything is very, very different. That is the Alpha system, and the FX6 is built on the FX system, which is designed from the ground up to be able to do things like this. So it could be something that is built into the intrinsic core of the code of that firmware. So if that's the case, it would be a big firmware update, which would require a lot of work. I don't know, because I don't know. I'm not a coder, not an engineer. But yes, I would imagine it's something that they could just do with a firmware update. Lothar, can you believe I bought the EOS R5 in September, but not using any 8K or even 4K, just filming in 1080p? And that's fine for me. I guess Sony users will laugh now. Well, certainly you're not using a lot of the potential of your brand new camera. I would recommend going to 4K because the 4K is in lots of different modes. There's the normal 4K, there's the 4K HQ, and then there's the 4K with the Super 35 crop, and then there's the 8K, then there's the 8K RAW. So many different modes in that camera. But the normal bog standard 4K, the one that just line skips down and never overheats, if you're doing 1080p production, I would recommend shooting in that because the file sizes aren't too bad. It's very manageable, never overheats, will be absolutely fine. It's full frame. But the quality of that downsample down to 1080p will be brilliant compared to the 1080p in the camera. So I do really recommend using that for video. But yeah, if 1080p is working for you and you've got a slower computer that can't handle the 4K, sure. I'm assuming you've got the R5 for the still side of the camera. Have you, or did you buy it for the video in 1080p? Let me know. Cool, let's just flick through and see if I've missed anything. No, I think I am good. Lothar's just saying, yes, I know, but the file sizes are really big. Sometimes I'm filming in 4K. Yes, but media has got so much cheaper nowadays. I do think it is definitely worth it to go up to 4K. But yeah, if it's working for you, stick with it. You know, if it's earning you money and is working for you, these are all just professional tools. We're talking about professional tools to do a professional workflow, and what makes a workflow professional is whether or not it earns you money. So if it earns you money and your customers are happy with it, stick with that. You know, these are just tools to make your life easier. If it's going to make your life more difficult and it's not going to keep your customers happier, why bother with it, right? But I do think going up to the 4K would be better. You would get better results, which will keep your customers happier and stay ahead of the curve. Right. Okay, Bergenbeard. What would you suggest is the best shotgun microphone with XLR? It'd be used for on camera as well as in a studio on a boom. I'm a big fan of the Sennheiser 416. I think the Sennheiser 416 just has a lovely sound. It's really well built. It's relatively expensive for a shotgun microphone, but it's not astronomically expensive. Let me see how much they are at the moment on the website. Sennheiser 416. There we go. So it's £700 ex-VAT. So, you know, it's a lot more than a Rode NTG1 or whatever. We've got them in stock, ready to go. But it is so worth it. These are industry standard workhorse microphones that are going to last you for 10 years or 20 years even, and they are going to sound fantastic. One of these in a boom outdoors sounds perfect. Now, with microphones, there's no one perfect microphone that is good for everything. For example, if you're inside using a boom and you're very close to a ceiling, you normally want a shorter microphone, a more condenser style microphone, the one that's shorter. If you probably want a lavalier on camera, you say on camera, unless you have to have it on camera, as in your documentary shooting, running around, just filming whatever's in front of you, actuality style, I really wouldn't put a microphone on camera. It's my least favorite way to record audio is on camera. You will just get so much room echo because it's just so far away from the person that's speaking. The only reason to do that is if you absolutely have to, because there are lots of situations where you do absolutely have to. So yeah, lots of different options out there. If you're looking for a more budget friendly option, there are really good ones. So the Rode NTG3 is very popular indeed and does sound great. So this is treated by many people as sort of the slightly cheaper version of the 416. It's got a very different sound though. It's much bassier, and that can sometimes be a good thing. It just, for situations like this, it's quite a good thing. It makes your voice sound rich and deep, but it's a much more theatrical, less true to life sounding microphone, in my opinion. Whereas the 416 is very clean, it's very good for sort of exterior dialogue in films. It's used quite a lot, or TV production, because it just sounds like real life. It's brilliant. And then if you go even cheaper, there's the good old NTG1 or NTG2 from Rode, because these are such a good price. And again, quite bassy, normally Sennheiser sounds much more true to life, if you like, whereas Rode sounds a little bit bassier. The Sennheiser, what is it called? MKH 600, is it? Nope, not that one. MKE 600? Yes, the MKE 600 from Sennheiser. This is their sort of affordable budget version. It's quite a bit longer than the NTG one, but still a very good price, and sounds very bit more similar to the 416 in terms of it's a bit more mid-tone rich and a bit more true to life sounding. But again, back to the Curtis Judd recommendation. He does lots of good microphone comparison videos. So if you're looking at different microphones, that is a good place to check out. Again, if you missed that earlier, it's Curtis Judd on YouTube, who does spend a lot of time talking about audio equipment, and is a fantastic place to check out for that. Okay, interesting question from Robbie. Here's a weird random question. Why do some cameras like the A7S Mark III have super whites, but a camera like the GH5 doesn't? I'm not sure what you mean by super whites, to be honest, Robbie. Super whites. Do you mean just in the Rec 709 profiles, the whites look really good, whereas they don't on this Sony? Let me know a bit more info there. Bergenbeard on the microphone, I guess, is saying versatility and longevity just make the blow to the wallet a bit less scary. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, same as tripods. Spend more now and it will last you for 10, 20 years and be a good workhorse. Audio for microphones and for tripods, I really do recommend that. Spend a decent amount now, push your budget to whatever it is, and then look after it, and it will last you a good long time. Right, Lothar's chimed back in on his R5. Back to your answer, of course I'm using the camera for 50% stills, and this for me is the best camera in the market right now. Appreciate your time and answers on the live chat from Germany. Fantastic. Yeah, if you're doing any sort of stills work, the R5 is just a workhorse. I mean, it is, I think, the best stills camera I've ever used as an all-round package. It is just a brilliant stills camera, and I really hope Sony tomorrow have got something that competes with that, because that would be very exciting. Okay. Bit of Googling to do. Thomas just wants to say thank you for your information on your video on the S5. Oh, well, lovely message. Thank you. Really helped my decision to upgrade from my G80 to pair with my GH5 from the S5. One day the autofocus will be good. One day. Yep. I mean, they've got the autofocus pretty good now. For a contrast-based autofocus system, it is pretty good. If you're okay with it drifting every now and again and it not being 100% perfect, it is a decent autofocus performance. I don't want to do Panasonic down too much on autofocus. They're not as good as Canon and Sony, but they have done a fantastic job getting that contrast-based autofocus to be a usable point now. Okay, Theo, what's your recommendation for a video tripod and fluid head around the 500 mark? Great question. Okay, so what I like to do for this is I like to bring up the category on the website. So go to tripod kits and systems. So this is sorted by recommended values. So these are the ones which I've highlighted up the top, or the sales team have highlighted, obviously. These ones are my solid recommendation around that price point. So eImage are a brand of tripods which you might not be familiar with. They're a brand we've been importing from China for a long time, and they're absolutely fantastic value for money tripods. In terms of the fluid head, they don't last quite as long as the Satchela and the Millers of the world, but they are pretty much just as good in terms of fluid dampening. And they are a lot more affordable. Like this GH06F A2 system, this is the one that we use all the time in the channel. I've actually got a video going out on Wednesday, which Dan has made for the channel, going over all of the pieces of equipment which we actually use day to day to make these videos for you all. And it's this or the bigger brother, the GH10L, the 100mm bulb version. These are the tripods which we just use day in, day out, and we have done on this channel for years. They are fantastic. And hit right at that sort of price point that you mentioned, that £500 mark. I really like the solo legs ones. It does cost that a little bit more, but I just really like using solo legs when I'm out there and about shooting. But if you prefer the more traditional video style of legs, which is actually like I'm looking at and supporting the camera that's filming me right now, is this legs. These are brilliant, and they updated these about couple of years ago now to be the GH06F. The F added a flat base to the bottom of the 75mm bowl. So it's still a 75mm bowl tripod. It goes in a 75mm bowl and levels and everything. But the bottom of the bowl is just cut off. So it's a flat based hole with a 1/4" screw, so that you can take it out of the 75mm bowl system and screw it directly onto a flat base system. So like a slider or a baby head or anything like that. That would be my solid recommendation there. I've recommended that to so many customers and we've had barely any complaints at all. They are brilliant, brilliant buys. Okay, what's going on at Panasonic? Jonas says their CX350 is sold out in all of Europe and have very long waiting times, and few cameras are being delivered to customers. It is the same across the board really for camcorders. Camcorders, in particular 1-inch camcorders, have been in huge extra demand since the pandemic hit. Yeah, we're also sold out in 4 to 6 weeks. Huge demand on these products throughout 2020, and obviously they have been more difficult to manufacture because of all the COVID restrictions in the factories. And to make matters even worse, there was a big fire at one of the main factories in Japan, I think it was. I can't remember what part it was manufacturing, but it was a part that was included in most manufacturers' products across the board. I think it was I don't think it's a sensor, but it's a processing chip or some part this factory made that was part of Sony cameras, Canon cameras, Panasonic cameras, all of them, and that they had a major fire which set them back in terms of the amount that they were making of these cameras for a long time. And I think that is the case for the CX350 was included in that. It has been a really difficult time for manufacturers to get those out. Guy Thompson is adding to that tripod recommendation the Satchel Ace. Let me show you that. So we have got the Satchel Ace on here somewhere. So there's the Ace XL, just the head by itself. That's the carbon fiber one. So a set of legs that's a bit cheaper than that, because that would be above budget. And I also, to be honest, I prefer the Image GH06 as a head to the Ace XL. I love Satchel's higher end ones. So there we go. That's the more affordable one. This isn't even the Ace XL. This is the normal Ace. I really prefer the Image to the Satchel Ace tripod. I think it's well worth more money. Guy says he thinks it was to do with audio chips. Maybe, yeah, it could have been preamps. But yeah, that set back production a lot. So yeah, this tripod is one that you absolutely, lots of people are very happy with this tripod, and it is a brilliant tripod. I do personally think the Image ones, these ones are a better choice. And if you want to go even higher than that, the Flowtech 75 with the Ace XL legs. So the Flowtech. So this one is brilliant. This is a brilliant tripod with the Ace XL head. Fantastic. And then the active range is one of the ones I'm recommending the most at the moment, but obviously that does get quite a bit more expensive. So with this Flowtech 75, yeah, you're looking at $2,500 for a tripod for the Active 6 and the Flowtech legs. But those are, you know, you buy that and that will last you for 15, 20 years of shooting. Right, I think we will call it there. Some fantastic questions, guys, today there. Slow start to get rolling a little bit with some questions coming in, but once we got going there was some absolutely brilliant questions coming in. Hope you all found that useful and interesting, and I also really hope that you join me tomorrow for whatever Sony have up their sleeves. I am very excited about that and very much looking forward to it. And if you've got any further questions about anything that I've mentioned in this, obviously this is a very quick little skim Q&A overview session. If you want any more details or want to buy any of it, of course, you should get in touch with the sales team or with us here directly, or put it in the YouTube comments. So thank you very much for watching. Hope you're all staying safe out there, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
XS Wireless Digital is the perfect wireless audio solution for content creators and filmmakers. Thanks to a 2.4 GHz transmission, XS Wireless Digital is a truly plug-and-play system that allows you to upgrade your in-camera audio with one-button operation. With a variety of configurations to choose from, this entry point into the world of wireless will improve your workflow and will expand the possibilities of how you capture audio for your video. For more information, visit sennheiser.com/xswd.
The new Super 35 sensor that Canon have introduced with the C300 Mark III is quite a big step up from other S35 sensors that they have created before. From the body and the flexibility that gives us in terms of the expansion packs and the interchangeable mount, to the sensor with its increased dynamic range for tackling scenes that possibly we couldn't have tackled or captured faithfully before, I can get more out of this camera. My money goes further. It's as simple as that from a business standpoint. From a creative point of view, it's unquestionably unlocking more creative avenues for us as filmmakers.
XS Wireless Digital is the perfect wireless audio solution for content creators and filmmakers. Thanks to a 2.4 GHz transmission, XS Wireless Digital is a truly plug-and-play system that allows you to upgrade your in-camera audio with one-button operation. With a variety